Sorry, people are making a really big deal about something that's just not that big a deal with Matt Carpenter. It's like people are acting as if he's suddenly plan A at third base. Matt Carpenter is probably, even if he's on the
Starting
team
third baseman
all season, if he's on the team the
Yeah.
entire season, I bet he draws like 3 starts at third base.
Over under 150 plate appearances for him this year. No,
Under.
I don't think
I'm smashing the under. I would be shocked. I think Matt Carpenter, if he's on the team all season, gets into like 50 games, and most of those come as like pinch hitter or like weird defensive replacement thing.
Yep.
He'll probably draw like 3 starts at first, 3
Yep.
starts at third, 5 or 6 starts at DH. Maybe he'll play in the corner outfield at some point. He's fine insurance. He's a good clubhouse presence, and he's won before. I see no issue with it. Again, your 26 man rarely plays that much anyway. Remember how long Taylor Motter was on the team on the bench in the first half last year?
Yeah, people don't think about that. Like April, he didn't play like at all.
Yeah, Trace Barrera, like they carried a third.
They never played him
and never used him. So they have space, and it's not a huge deal. And it's like, honestly, I know that people are like, oh, I would rather have Burleson or I would rather have Sajazi get the last spot. In a perfect world, yes, but those guys aren't going to play.
Yeah,
like if Sajazi rides the bench, that's a mistake. He should be at AAA getting regular plate appearances so that he's actually ready for something. You don't want him to just get stale on the bench.
Yep.
I mean, the guy who was going to fill that role is Jose Fermin, which honestly, I don't really care. Like
exactly. And he probably wouldn't play either because Edmonds the backup shortstop and they have other people who play second base. Like Fermin wasn't going to play either.
If the Cardinals had 9 players that were all locked into one position, it'd be a little different, but they don't. The Cardinals have guys with tons of versatility because they value that as an organization. There's almost nobody on the roster besides Arenado and Goldschmidt that you can point to and say they can't play another position. I mean, even guys like Alec Burleson can play first base. The Cardinals have a bunch of guys that can play the middle infield. And not only that, they can play the middle infield at a pretty high level. Center field is really shallow, but corner outfielders, left infielders, middle infielders, like these guys can play all around. And so you don't need a guy on the bench with a ton of versatility. You just need someone who can be in the clubhouse, who's not like ruining a young player's development and who's okay sitting on the bench a lot.
Yeah, exactly. Because people say like, oh, have Victor Scott for defense and speed. It's like, that is a total waste to have him sitting on the bench. And you're not going to have Tommy Edmonds on the bench. You're just not like, it doesn't make sense. And so, if people are right, if we're wrong and Carp plays a lot, they deserve a ton of criticism unless he's somehow really good.
Absolutely.
But the way they're talking about it, they consistently are saying he's a bench bat. And even Mozeliak today was on Tom Ackerman and he said, we'll see how spring training goes. He wasn't like Carpenter's on the opening day roster. He's like, let's see if he's good enough to make the roster or at least good enough to be the guy who doesn't play.
Yeah.
And that's all they're asking for from him. So I think we're making a mountain out of a molehill. Gosh, whatever.
I mean, and also think about the guys the Cardinals have signed in previous springs, right? Taylor Motter, Corey Dickerson. Brad Miller actually was pretty good in St. Louis.
Good.
He was really good. Yeah. But when Brad Miller came in, everyone was like, oh, who's this guy? Like, what are we doing? And it's the same thing, right? Like they're signing a guy who's going to ride the bench because someone has to be the 26th guy. And did you want it to be like Buddy Kennedy? If you did, that's fine. If you're a Buddy Kennedy stan, that's okay. You can be upset about this, but it's just not that big a deal.
Lucas asked.
All I'm saying is there was this one hitter available. They could have signed this off.
Nope, stop. Okay.
Them to have an extra pitcher in the bullpen.
So Lucas asked, I know he has to be a player to get the Braves money, but why not hire him as a coach? Otherwise, you just want leadership. That's fair. And I think if he gets hurt or is bad, he will probably be DFA'd and retire and might come on as a coach. But Katie Wu said this and a couple other people have said it, like they're not like there's a difference between a player who's a player in leading and a difference between a coach who's a leader, even if they're a former player. And it's important to remember Paul Goldschmidt and Nolan Arenado both asked for Matt Carpenter to be there. They both wanted him. So it's not like the Cardinals are like, oh, we should jump Matt Carpenter on here. Oh, this is our bright idea. Like, again, it was partially their idea too, but like Goldschmidt and Arenado, like, hey, things went poorly and all the leadership fell on our shoulders. I think that's a bigger issue that should be talked about is
I agree.
Why can't other players on this team fill that leadership void? That's fair criticism, totally. But like, again, if Matt Carpenter plays a ton and is bad and they keep putting him in the lineup, which I don't see Ollie doing, okay, you were right, and this is crazy. What are they doing? But assuming he gets like a couple at bats a week when they're in a getaway game or whatever, I just don't see it as an issue.
Yeah, I don't think it's that big a deal, frankly. And I think honestly, like people who are mad about it just want something to be upset about right now. And this is their new thing to latch onto. It kind of
Yeah.
stinks because I don't think it's that big a deal. And they're like, we've said this a number of times. There are genuine reasons to be upset with the Cardinals front
Yeah,
office. There are
totally.
genuine, like you can be really upset that it took them this freaking long to figure out that analytics matter in pitching development.
Yep.
You can be really mad about that. You can be really mad with the way that they have handled their 40-man roster over the last few years. Like some of the guys that have stayed on it for no reason. For example, had Bedell been selected in the Rule 5 draft, which was a distinct possibility, it would have been a huge mistake not protecting him. So the Cardinals have made mistakes in the past, and you can criticize them for it. But I think this is a stupid thing to criticize them for. And, let's go waste our breath criticizing them for things that actually matter.
Yeah, I mean, when I saw the Carpenter signing, I was like, oh, okay. I mean, the way this team is going to go is they had to go out there and get a 26-man, whether that's internally like Jose Fermin or if it was like signing Taylor Motter last year. But like when given the option between a bunch of guys on minor league deals and Matt Carpenter, who's been like with the franchise before, from both a business perspective and like a baseball perspective, it doesn't make any sense to go after anybody else because like they're probably gonna make that back in jersey sales within an hour. And
yeah. I mean, you're right.
Like they're paying him $700,000. Like that's not that many jerseys. And for a guy who's been surrounded by the team for a long time, like that's perfect. But like I'm not excited about this move. It's not something that gets me going, but it's also not something to be upset about. Just, like you just signed a guy who's never going to play.
I love this.
Another great comment, Henderson and Wellman Agency. There are a lot of parallels between Carp and Donovan's careers. Donovan is supposed to be a growing leader. Hope they connect well. Makes a lot of sense. So that's a great observation with that. A couple other thoughts with that. So like we talked about this already, but like people are like, okay, who's the backup infielder? The Cardinals have their roster constructed in a very interesting way where they want Mason Wynn to play almost every day. He's young. There's not a reason for him to sit out 30 games a year unless he's bad. And their offense is good enough they can carry a below average bat at shortstop. He's going to play almost every day. And the days he doesn't play, Tommy Edmonds is going to play shortstop, and Dylan Carlson or Large Newbar will play center field,
or Victor Scott.
Be fine. Or Victor Scott. Yeah, by that point, like, and then like when does Edmund get rest? Well, when it keeps starting, Carlson comes in. Like they have like 12 guys who can fill all 9 spots for an entire season, pretty much, because like Goldschmidt, Arenado, Contreras need to sit a decent amount, but you've got Herrera, and then you've got the DH spot, and you've got guys who can fill in those positions. You don't need like 4 backup guys who can play all the time, or because people have been mad the last few years saying like, why isn't Goldschmidt playing every day? Why isn't Arenado playing every day? Why isn't? So it's like, okay, this looks like they're going to be playing Large Newbar every day when he's healthy, and Jordan Walker every single day when he's healthy. And it's like, great. They have their best lineup out there almost every day. And when the few times a week where they sit, or like a few times every other week they sit, okay, you've got Carlson, Burleson, and Herrera who come in. Great.
Yeah,
I don't see the problem.
Really effective lineup.
It's a problem if Carpenter plays all the time, and I don't see that happening.
No, and it's like, honestly, I think I might be more upset actually had the Cardinals gone out and like paid a real backup. It's a waste of resources, and it's somebody who would actually have the expectation of playing a lot. That would be, in my opinion, much worse, because then like Matt Carpenter being on the bench doesn't hurt the team. If you go out and you get someone, I don't know, like I really like the idea of Kevin Kiermaier defensively, but if they'd gone out and gotten him and paid him big money, all of a sudden, like now you're carrying a below average bat way more often. One more thing about why didn't they sign Carpenter as a coach or whatever? I think it matters that Carpenter still wants to be a player. Obviously, he thinks he's still got something left in the tank, and players do this a lot. Players don't want to retire. Like Matt Carpenter loves baseball. He doesn't want to retire. He wants to continue to play, and I think it's nice that the Cardinals will give him another shot to play. Also, Carpenter's 2 years removed from a really, really great stretch with Texas's AAA team and then with the Yankees. So obviously he thinks there's still something of that left. Some of that magic is left. Maybe it's not. And maybe it's terrible and Carpenter's off the team in June. But there's a chance that he's a really valuable bench bat. He's got power. He's still left-handed. And it's going to be really fun to see him at Busch Stadium. I
Yeah.
think if you're someone who's getting worked up over the Cardinals enjoying sentimentality, that's a waste of your time because sentimentality is fun and every franchise does it. Every
Yeah.
franchise likes it.
And also, like, people point to, like, they rode with Wayno, they rode with Mater. Again, we already talked Mater thing, but like Wayno, they had real conversations about removing him from the rotation when they were 20 games out of it. Like, they were about to pull the plug with how bad it was. And I guarantee you, if they were in contention, they weren't going to let him go for 200. They were going to pull him, and it was going to be, I'm sorry, but we're trying to win.
Yeah.
I think it's even less so with Carp, or even more so with Carp. Like, he might not make the opening day roster if it's just clear in spring training. He's just bad. Like,
Yeah.
so I just, again, downside, I'd see like very little downside unless they do something crazy like playing him every day when he's bad. Like, sure, if that happens, I
Be
guarantee
upset.
the New News podcast will not be like, well, they should be trotting out 150 hitting Matt Carpenter every day because it's nostalgic.
Yeah.
I mean, they were sitting Albert Pujols against righties like back.
Yeah, they stopped playing him.
Like, he was not good in the first half, and he wasn't getting playing time.
And he was about to retire, and then he gave it one more shot. He said,
and then he went,
gonna
God
retire.
tier. It was
And he
so
went, yeah.
awesome.
So
Yeah, so, like,
they literally sat Albert Pujols. I don't think it's going to be a problem.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Couldn't agree more.
And it's been said in here, he's been working with Matt Holiday this offseason. So who knows? Maybe he's good. If he's not, whatever. They wasted $700,000. And if
I hope Carpenter's really good. I really do. I hope
It'd be so
Carpenter
fun.
hits like 15 homers in 200 at-bats this year. That'd be really fun. And we would enjoy that. And I would wear my Carpenter jersey to a game, and I would be really happy about it.